Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, I'm excited to show you a beautiful new collection from our friends at 49 and Market called Echoes of Time. We have a 6x8 paper pack, 2 collections of laser cut elements, and a set of rub-on transfers. So let's take a closer look, and we can begin with the paper pack. Now this includes 27 sheets, and you can see the designs here on the front of the package. You have 3 each of 9 double-sided papers, plus a bonus sheet on the inside front cover, which is this one right here. So let's flip through, and you can see this absolutely stunning color palette. Lots of really soft, pretty pastels, mint green, pale pink, really pretty lavender. For the designs, you have some all-over print like this harlequin. You also have sheets with really soft, pretty collage elements. Lots of faux texture in here. Some sheets that are great for matting and layering. I think these are absolutely stunning, and I love the combination of the stripes and the harlequin with those floral elements. So this is our paper pack, and remember again there are 27 sheets included here. Then for your rub-on pack, well, here you've got 3 sheets of coordinating images. You can see them on the front here. You can also see them on the back of the package, these 3 sheets down here. Now also on the back of the package is this portion here which has a nice large area that you could use for either fussy cutting, or you could use these as backgrounds for your cards too. Now for the rub-ons themselves, let's take a look here, and we can flip through this collection. Now these are called blendables, and you've got some elements here that are kind of partial elements. They look like torn pieces of paper. These can be blended either into your background sheet, or they could also be blended together. And I think this can create some really pretty depth on your project. So that's for your rub-on set. And then we also have 2 sets of laser cut embellishments. So we have the wildflowers and we have the elements. Now for both of these collections, you have 4 sheets of images, plus on the inside of the front cover, let me flip these over, you've got lots of fussy cut images as well. So a lot to play with here with these 2. Now for the laser cut embellishments, you'll notice that they're all very delicate. They pop right out of that backing sheet, and they can be used for your card focals or backgrounds. So let's have a flip through these, and you'll notice that these are designed perfectly to coordinate with the pattern papers and with the rub-ons. Oh, I just love these sweet little owls down here. And of course they can be used with each other as well. So you can mix and match between the 2 collections. Here are the wildflowers, nice big butterflies, as well as the floral images. Now these can of course be used as is, just pop them right out of the backing sheet. You can also layer them up one on top of the other too, and create your own collages. That's the last sheet in the collection. So I think you can see just how many beautiful elements we have to play with today. And of course, everything being designed to coordinate perfectly really takes a lot of the guesswork out of your card making and other paper crafting projects. I'm really glad you're here today, and I'm so excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. I absolutely love this large butterfly ephemera piece, and I knew I wanted to use it as the centerpiece of my card. So here I've layered it onto a laser cut frame. You can see the top and the bottom here, and then also onto this patterned paper background. Now also on my card I have a rub-on applied directly onto the patterned paper, and I also have, take a look, I've accented the piece with some laser cut stitching elements that look incredibly real, really dimensional. Okay, so let's start with our background, and then we can work our way up. So first of all, I'm covering the front of my blank white card with this kind of a faux texture. It's almost like an eggshell color. It's a really wonderful neutral. So this is included in the paper pack, and of course it goes with any of the pattern papers. So I've covered my card front with this, and to do this, what I've done, as I normally do, I've simply taken my 5 by 6.5 inch blank white card, comes folded. So all I need to do is fold that up, and then I apply some glue stick, and I like using the Pioneer glue stick for this. I'll apply my glue all around the sides and the corners especially of the front of my card, and then I'll take my paper and I will glue this down. And when I do this, I like to align the edge of the cardstock with the fold of the card, and then make sure that that's on there really nicely. Then I'll flip it over and I will trim around the outside edge using a pair of scissors. And that's just a really great way to make sure that you've got your entire card front covered and it looks really nice and tidy. That way you don't have to try and cut down the size of your paper to the size of your card and try and aim it on there. And then I've layered on this beautiful piece of collage patterned paper. It's absolutely stunning. I love that you've got the stripes here in the center, and you've also got some artwork top, bottom, side to side, and you can choose which of those sections you want to include on your card. I really wanted to have a lot of those stripes over to the side, so I've trimmed it down slightly smaller than the front of my card. And for both the edge of this cardstock and the outside edge of my card, I've done some inking with the concrete ink pad. And the concrete's a really nice dark gray color. It works beautifully with some of the darker shades in these light and pastel colored collage papers, and it just works really nicely to emphasize the difference between those two designs. And to ink along the outside edge, all you need to do is just pop off the lid and hold the ink pad right up along the edge of your cardstock, and you can see immediately that dramatic difference there. Now, if you angle your ink pad toward your cardstock, you will get a thicker line, of course. Now, this is a dye-based ink pad, so it won't take very long to dry, but you do want to make sure that it's thoroughly dry before you put it onto your other paper or cardstock, just to make sure it doesn't transfer that ink in a place where you maybe don't want it to go. Then for the rest of my card, of course, I've got this beautiful rub-on here. And you'll notice here the text of the rub-on is going horizontally and the stripes of the paper are going vertically. And it does create some nice dimension, but it still stays in the background of the card design. So with our rub-ons, now the rub-on that I used here is this one. So it's quite a large design here. When you're applying your rub-ons, you'll simply grab your pair of scissors and trim out the design that you want. And I've got a little snippet here, so let me grab my scissors and I'll just cut out one of the designs. Now when I do this, I'm keeping that liner piece along with the rub-on design so that I make sure that I've got the two of those together until I have decided when and where I want to put this down. So if I'll just grab a piece of this beautiful cardstock, and when I'm taking this off, I'm not going to touch the artwork on here. I'm going to be very careful about handling this, and then I can kind of see, where I might want that design to go. So I'm going to incorporate it here with this beautiful pocket watch on the design, and I'm going to smooth this down. Now I've trimmed off an extra little piece of the rub-on so I can kind of fold up a corner of this. I've got something to hang on to. And then all I need to do is burnish this design in place. And I'm using a bone folder for this. You could use a craft stick or a popsicle stick, but a bone folder is a really useful tool to have on hand. And I'm just gently but firmly burnishing that in place. Now my bone folder has a pointy tip to it. That's not what I'm using. I'm using the angled edge here. And then I'm just going to gently pull this up. I'm not yanking off the whole piece because if there's any part that didn't transfer perfectly, I can put this piece back down and continue. But it looks like I have got it. So this is as easy as it is to apply a rub-on onto your cardstock or pattern paper, and you can see it does really create a beautiful effect and works nicely, integrates nicely with the collage papers there too. Now this beautiful butterfly that I have here, well, she's just simply popped up with foam tape on this frame laser cut. And the butterfly, let me show you our butterfly. This is from the let me see, Wildflowers collection. There's so many different elements in here. Now with our butterfly, you've got the large butterfly body, and that will just pop right out. But then there's also the center of the body, which you can also use and layer on top of the original butterfly. And there's also some of the elements that go on her wings if you want to use those too. So I've got them layered up on foam tape. So I have the body popped up on foam tape, the butterfly herself is on foam tape, and then that frame laser cut piece is glued straight down onto the card front. And then I've also got this beautiful stitching here. Now, can you believe that these are just laser cut pieces glued down? I think the printing on them looks incredibly dimensional. And these are from the Laser Cut Elements collection. I really have to double check because they work so nicely together. I've really been mixing and matching those together. And you can see the stitching in here. There's kind of scattered throughout the various set. And so you can pull some of those together and then simply glue them down. And I like to use a precision applicator with some wet adhesive to glue those down, and they go down perfectly. And then my sentiment down here at the bottom is from the Script Dazzle set in brown to coordinate with those beautiful soft brown shades in our pattern paper. Then for my card inside, I have a gorgeous rub-on border. I've got another Dazzle message down here, and I've got these 3 faux staples. These are also rub-ons. And up at the top here, there's a beautiful and very intricate birdcage image. This is one of the laser cuts. This chain here is a separate laser cut, so I've just aligned both of those together and glued them in place to create another accent piece for the inside of my card. Our next card has another sweet focal, and this time it's a little steampunk style cat wearing a top hat with some aviator goggles. And I think this is a really fun way to combine some of these more steampunk elements like the cogs and the gears that you'll find in the laser cut collection with some beautiful traditional floral elements. I think it does really create an interesting card focal and one that's a lot of fun too. Now my card background is 2 different pattern papers. I have the lightly patterned faux texture pink paper up at the top, and then I've got this collage portion here, and I'm using the section that's down at the bottom and trimming off some of those florals here, capturing the stripes that are both this nice soft lilac as well as the green on here too. And if you're thinking that this pattern paper looks familiar, you're correct. It's the same paper that I used for my butterfly card, only with my butterfly card, I've used this upside down. So this is another point that I want to make for you. When you're looking at the collage pattern papers, the only thing that prevents you from turning this around and using it vertically or horizontally is the orientation of some of the text and or the clocks and the pocket watches. So outside of that, with many of these floral combinations and the overall patterns, you can really turn those papers around, and it allows you to utilize whichever section of that collage design you want to. Now in between the 2 pattern papers, I have a border dazzle, and this is coming from the Gold Pearl Fancy Border Lace Dazzle set. That's a mouthful. There are lots of gorgeous borders on here, and I'll show you, I don't have very many left. As you can see, I really went to town on that. I'll show this to you with the brown version so you can see all of those gorgeous designs. And you'll probably notice that for this sheet, I've actually removed, and this is something that I do with almost all of my dazzles, I will pull off this backing piece so that I just have the dazzle's borders on there. And then that way, if I'm using just a portion of a dazzle or I change my mind on which one I want to use, I can put them back in place on that sheet really easily. And then that way they're not sort of stuck everywhere. I'm not committed to them. But here I've used a nice wide dazzle border, and that's just separating between those two elements. Overlapping, I have a large floral laser cut piece and then two leaf elements underneath the border. So I'm creating a kind of a floral bouquet here. In the middle is our little tabby cat popped up on foam tape. And he's coming from the laser cut elements, so you can see him up there. And quite easy to pop up on the foam tape, and we'll give a little bit of dimension on there as well. The floral elements are, of course, from the Wildflowers laser cut collection. All of these beautiful floral elements that you can use together or in groupings. You can create your own bouquet like I've done here. Then down at the bottom, I have a script dazzle. I've also got some little heart dazzles here around to accent my floral piece. And with your script dazzles, you've got, of course, the dazzle sentiment, but you also have lots of little accent pieces. And these are great to kind of tie in around the rest of your design here, and it creates a nice frame. So those are really handy to have on that sheet and quite easy to incorporate into your design too. I also have some rub-ons here, some of these faux texture marks with the pink and the kind of an off-white as well. And that ties in also with some of the texture on our collage paper. Then for my card inside, I have a rub-on applied right onto the inside back panel of the card and another large laser cut floral piece plus some smaller floral accents and some of the foliage on here, plus another dazzle sentiment. For this card, I've incorporated the pattern papers, the rub-on, and laser cut, as well as dazzle borders top and bottom. Now this background sheet, which is this one right here, has, like many in the collection, a lot of texture and a lot of faux texture, I should say. Some aging and distressing, as well as some kind of texture blotches on here too. Now for my card, I decided I wanted to add some more blotches on there, a little bit of spattering. It's quite a subtle effect, but it also creates a nice look and ties in nicely with these papers. And this is a really easy technique to do. So after I've covered the front of my card with this beautiful dark, kind of a dark charcoal pattern paper, faux textured, and of course, this goes really nicely with our concrete ink pads. So I thought what I would do after covering the front of my card and trimming down our pattern paper slightly smaller, I thought I'd add a little bit of spattering on here. So you've got two options for this when you are also incorporating a rub-on. A rub-on is going to be non-porous, which means that it will reject any watery ink that you may splatter on it. So you can choose to either do your splattering onto your pattern paper, let it dry, and then apply your rub-on, which is what I did. Or you can apply your rub-on and then splatter all over it and then tap off any excess ink on there. Because it won't soak in, it will smudge off. So you want to tap that off with a bit of tissue or something. So I thought we could take a look at this process, and why don't we use the sheet that we've already got our rub-on applied to. Now I'm working onto a craft mat, and I've got my concrete ink pad. I've got a water brush here ready to go, and I also have a little bit of water in a mister bottle. So what I'm going to do is take my ink pad and just squash a little bit of that ink right onto my craft mat. This is the wonderful thing about a craft mat, it is that it's easy to clean up and it works as a palette too. And then I'm just going to mist a little bit of water next to the ink and take my water brush and make a watery wash. And it will be diluted. The more water you add, the lighter the color will be. And then holding my water brush perpendicular to my surface that I want to splatter onto, I'll hold this here and I'll just tap that watery ink right on top. And you can see how it's really adding more of a textured, faux textured effect here. I'm really going to try and get some ink onto that rub-on. And then what I'll do, once I've splattered as much as I want to, I'm going to give this a second, because you can see how it's really soaking into that cardstock. And that means that I can either add more for a more dramatic effect if I want, or I can just let this be a nice, soft, subtle look. But before I handle this, I definitely do want to take a tissue or a damp cloth and dab off any of the ink that's sitting on top of that rub-on, because as I mentioned, it not being porous, if you don't remove that ink, then it can kind of go lots of other places, maybe where you don't want it to go. And then just let this dry, and I'm ready to use it on my card front. And then I can just take a damp cloth or a baby wipe or something and clean up my craft mat. And then I'm ready to go and add this onto my card. So what I've done here, I've got this large, beautiful, intricate design here. This is the rub-on that I've applied right on here. And then I have the large laser cut clock image. And this I glued straight down rather than using foam tape, because there are a lot of really beautiful detailed tendrils around here. And having them lay flat is just going to be a little bit more secure. I've got a butterfly popped up with some foam tape as an accent. And then of course I've got my border dazzles top and bottom, and then I've got a gold script dazzle sentiment. That also had some little hearts on there that I've added around the clock. And then for my card inside, I have another border dazzle here and a script message, and then a frame laser cut element embellished with flowers and a butterfly. I've added a little bit of gold shine to our final card project for today. And you can see around the outside edge of this piece of cardstock, maybe if I angle it a little bit, you can see that gold metallic shine around here. Now this is made with Wow Gold Fab Foil and a glue stick. It's one of the easiest techniques, and therefore one that I really love. And especially if you like papers and designs that incorporate a vintage or distressed effect, this is a really nice way to add in a little bit of extra shine. Now this comes in gold, as you can see here, but it also comes in some other finishes too. The silver is also one of my favorite. And with the Wow Fab Foil, you're getting a really nicely sized package. So the sheets measure 4 inches by 39 inches, and they come kind of on a flat roll, something like this. And it just unfolds and unfolds and unfolds. I don't think I've ever used an entire package of this for as many gold foiled projects as I've made. A little goes a long way, and I'll show you this as we get into the demonstration. So I'm again working onto my craft mat, and I'm going to bring in a piece of cardstock, and I thought we could use the one that we've been working on with the spattering and the rub-on here, and I'll share with you how to add the foil. So you do need a glue stick, and I'm going to use my Pioneer photo glue stick, and then you'll need some of your fab foil. Now you can just cut off a piece from the roll in the package, but if you've got some pieces that have been partially used, you can keep these on hand. And so what I do is I have a big envelope full of all of my little off bits of foil, because in the places where it's not balled, you can still use this. So what I'll do is just grab that glue stick and apply the glue. So if I want this along the edge, I'll apply the glue along the edge. Now, as with our ink pad, the more glue you have on the front of your cardstock, the more foil you'll have. If you want a very thin effect, just go along the very, very edge of your cardstock. And then you'll simply take your foil, whichever section of the foil still has foil on it, and press that on there. And then I like to smooth it down, really make sure that that foil has adhered to the glue. And then I go around all the edges of my cardstock and then let this sit to dry. It doesn't take very long to dry. In fact, if I pull this up, you can see that there's some that has transferred already. I do have a piece that I glued down earlier. And you can see there how beautiful that looks, and what an easy way to add shine to your project. So super simple to do, and a technique that I really keep on hand for, especially my vintage themed projects. So after I've got that all foiled along the outside edge, and this is the sheet that I used, I've added that to the card front. Now I added a little bit of this dark charcoal strip going along the edge there to back my dazzle, and then I've got this piece as my background piece. I've also got a collage in the center, so I have this really beautiful kind of steampunk window with the pipes going along here. I've backed that with some sort of neutral texture paper, and then added the leaves and our little steampunk owl, as well as some butterflies, and then the cogs and gears. My dazzle sentiment, and then some hearts to go along here, and that completes the front of the card. And then for my card inside, I have a rub-on as well as some laser cuts and another dazzle message as our finishing touch. And this is our final project of the day today. So a big thank you to our friends at 49 and Market for these gorgeous supplies, and a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're really glad you're here, and we're happy you're a part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.